Okay, so today we're going to talk about the coordinate plane, and we are going to talk about labeling and graphing points and how we do that. It's similar to the game Battleship, if you've ever played Battleship, which I like to relate it to. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So the coordinate plane is basically a plus, giant plus that is made up of two number lines. So if we think of a number line going this way, where we have 0 in the middle, and anything to the right is positive, and anything to the left is negative. And then, that's a horizontal number line. If we think of a vertical number line, think of like a thermometer where we have 0 in the middle. If we go up, we have positive numbers. And if we go down, we have negative numbers, etc. Right? So a coordinate point is basically like these two merged over on top of each other, right? Where we have, positives going up, negatives going down, positives going to the right, negatives going to the left. All right, the coordinate plane is formed by two number lines, and the x-axis is the horizontal and the y-axis is the vertical. So all of these are considered x values, all of these are considered y values for that particular number line. The origin is the middle of the graph, so where they intersect. The origin is right in the middle. So if you look at the middle of each of our number lines, the origin is 0 for our x and 0 for our y. So it is 0 at point 0, 0. So now every point on this actual graph has a value for x and a value for y. And I'm going to jump down here. I'm going to skip the quadrants for a second. But they are displayed in what is called ordered pairs. And you think alphabetical. Our x values are first, our y values are second. And so every space on the coordinate plane corresponds with an ordered pair. So going back to the origin, you can see where my x value is 0, my y value is 0. I can actually write this as the ordered pair 0, 0, where this is my x and this is my y. So there is my coordinate plane, my origin. All right, the quadrants of this are labeled as such. They're quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. Why they go counterclockwise, I don't know. But we can see different values of where the actual quadrants would be based on our x and our y. So if we're looking this direction, this is positive for our x, so this might be 1, 2, 3. This might be -1, -2, -3. And then going on our vertical, we would have 1, 2, 3, and so on, right? -1, -2, -3. All right, so we can determine which ordered pair, where the quadrant is going to be based on the values. So if I have a positive 1 on my x and a positive 1 on my y, that actually puts me in quadrant 1. So this point would be considered 1, 1. So 1 for my x, 1 for my y, and I can put that point in space. So anytime you have a positive, positive, two positive numbers, it's going to be in this general area. Right over here, let's say I look at this point right here. I'm going to list my x value first. My x value goes to -2, and my y value is at 1. So if you kind of look at where these two intersect in this space, that is our point on that coordinate plane. All right. So we can label this one, and again we're labeling our x first. So this would be -2, comma, and then 1 here. And what you notice here is in this quadrant, any negative x and positive y would be there. So a negative, comma, positive. So any negative number, we're going to be in that general vicinity. All right, over here, just like we did over here, it's a negative on our x and a negative on our y. So these are going to be negative, negative ordered pairs. And over here, we have positive for our x and negative for our y. So that would be positive, negative with our numbers. And of course, numbers would be included. All right, so the actual quadrants is not crazy important that you memorize those, but sometimes that may come up where they say, hey, what quadrant it is in, and that you can use these notes to reference that. All right, the most important thing is how to plot them and how to read it. So again, like we mentioned before, our ordered pairs, the x value is first, the y value is second, and it's really any space on this ordered pair quadrant plane, which leads us into how we plot these points. All right, so you have, I put a graph here where you have tick marks and every one is 1, so this would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Our origin is right here, that's 0, 0. But you could also do it if you're doing it freehand. You can just draw across and you could label your, 1, 2, 3, 4, -1, -2, -3, -4. So you don't even have to write the numbers in. You just have to know that maybe each one of them are 1. And if you've done any graphing like in science or anything like that, you know sometimes you might go by 10s or by 5s. But typically for this, what we're going to do is we're going to be going by 1s. Like every tick mark is going to be 1. All right, so I want you to order or put these in on both of these graphs, and we're just going to plot points. So what we're going to do is we're going to plot a point, and we're going to label it A, B, C, or D. So how are we going to do that? Remember, this is our x axis, this is our y. So over here, this is our x, this line, this is our y. All right, and we need to read these as an ordered pair. Remember, ordered pairs are x comma y. All right, so how are we going to do that? So for 2, -3, we have to look, I always start from our origin, because our origin is 0, 0. We are going to go 2 on the x, so positive 2 would be to the right 2. Now I'm here. And then it's -3 for the y, so I go down 3. 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to place a dot there. All right, so that would be an ordered pair of 2, -3. Or in this case, you can just label it A, right? So we can call this A. All right, if I'm going to do it over here on just the freehand version, so I go 2 and then down 3, get it, eyeball it, get it as close as you can, and we can label that as A. Okay, so go ahead and pause here, try to label the other ones. All right, I have 5, 5, so I have to go, for my x value, I have to go +5, and then my y value, I have to go to +5 as well. So I go over 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then for my y, I go up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right where those meet, I put a dot. I can label that as B, because that is my 5, 5. If I'm going to do it on a freehand version over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So where those meet, I'm putting a dot in that space. B. I would imagine you're going to be doing a lot of the freehand version. So as long as it's in that general vicinity, these don't have to be perfectly spaced out for what we are doing. If we're going for accuracy, we would want to look for graph paper or something like that. Okay, we're going to plot C now. So for C, I am starting on my x is -1. So I would go to the left one. And again, I'm always starting from that origin, from 0. So left -1. And then 6 goes up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That would be my point in space. So that would be C. So again, it's kind of like Battleship if you've ever played Battleship, except they have letters and numbers. So here we're just using 2 different sets of numbers. So again, if we're doing it over here in space, I go -1 here, up 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I had that extra dot there in C. 0, 0. We know that that's the origin. So this would be D. Now there's going to be times too where, not just the origin at 0, 0, but there's also points where, one of them is 0. That just means it's going to be on that x or y axis. So I'm going to add another letter. Let's call this E. And I'm going to add another letter, F. So let's say E we're going to call 0, 3. And F we're going to call -4, 0. So now we're including zeros in here. So here's how we would do that. I'm going to plot E, 0 for my X, which means I don't go left or right, so it's going to be on this Y axis. And I go up 3. 1, 2, 3. I put a dot there. That would be E. 0 here. 1, 2, 3. E. All right. Now if I'm going to graph this one, I'll change colors here. Let's do orange. So -4 for my X, 0 for my Y. So again, my X is this axis, so I go -4. 1, 2, 3, 4, because it's to the left, that's negative. And because it's 0, I don't go up or down, so I put it right on that line. That would be F. Again, if you're doing it this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, keep it on that line, don't go up or down, F. All right, so this section is a lot about reading order pairs, knowing how to plot these points in graphs, and that's something that we're going to practice more.